Hey, good evening, everybody. I want to thank you for tuning in. I'm going to be all alone tonight. It's the way I want it because I want the people that are listening to the show to put comments on. I will respond to the comments and we'll have an interactive type of thing. I got so many things to talk about, and I've been told that I talk too much about too many different things to stick to one or two topics. But there's a few things that irk me, well, a lot of things that irk me. Um, One of them is, this vaccine mandate is driving people crazy. It's starting fights. For example, the other night at Carmine's restaurant, a famous restaurant on the Upper West Side, three women came in that had Vax cards. They let them in. Then the three men that accompanied them came in. They didn't have Vax cards. They got into an argument and they wound up hitting the Asian female that was working the front door, and the cops came and they gave them desk appearance tickets, whatever. Okay, so it was a dispute, but they are now saying that it was a racial incident because they were black. Well, the girl is Asian, so I don't know if that means anything. I mean, it's not like she's a white person attacking a black person. So it's getting a little crazy, and all this racism shit is just too much. I mean, people are like, it's diluted. It's like, all right, enough is enough. Okay, um, it's just crazy. I mean, they say that the American flag is everything is racist. Okay, next they're going to say pasta by the Italians is racist, or uh, beef gumbo is. I mean, it's just unbelievable. But um, one of the things that really, another thing that bothers me is we're surrounded by leftists. Let's face it, the media is left. The government right now we have is left. They're having kids in school being taught by leftist teachers. Okay, now these people want us to be socialist. It doesn't work for other countries. Now we're going to get into the border because President Trump said something very interesting. He says we're becoming a third world nation, and he's true. They want us to become a third world nation. This is part of the globalist reset. They want everything. One of the things that bothers me, and bothers a lot of people, is that America, you either love it or hate it, or you could want to be here and you still hate it. For example, these people come from shithole countries, and they come here and they want us to change the laws so that we come back to that shithole country. They feel more comfortable in a shithole. Okay, and let's figure out how the Democrats, socialists, I call them Democrat socialists, are making this country a shithole. How they are bringing people in from other countries, diluting the population, hoping that these people are going to become citizens and vote Democrat. And this is going to become a one-party country, just like Russia and China and all this other stuff. And we don't need that. We don't need that. We are a very viable country. And let's face it, people want us, they always want the person on top to go down. They always go for when you have a baseball or football team that's really good, everybody, they root for them, but sometimes they want to see them lose. They want to see an underdog. Well, the whole world is an underdog compared to the United States, okay? And we have enemies in China, Russia. Russia, I don't say too much. They're doing this. They're all doing things against us. But China is the one we got to worry about. And Biden is in the pocket of the Chinese. Let's face it. They're going to call him China Biden for nothing. His son got money from the Chinese investment companies. He was on the board of directors of a Chinese company. I mean, it's just so much. I mean, now I understand. We're not going to go into it tonight, but I understand that they have vindicated, they have verified that a lot of the stuff on his laptop is real. And that could be another scandal for the Bidens. Now, the Bidens have enough scandals going on right now that it's ridiculous. Afghanistan, we talked about this before. Afghanistan is a total disaster. No matter how they spin it, and they're trying to spin it where, 105,000 people were evacuated. Yeah, but what about the ones that weren't evacuated? What about all the military equipment that has been left in Afghanistan for the Taliban, who are terrorists. There's no two ways about it. They're not a good, benevolent political party. They are terrorists. They terrorize their own people for years. And you do have, by the way, there is a pocket of resistance in northern Afghanistan, some freedom fighters that have been fighting against the Taliban. And I don't know how well they're doing. I don't know if the Americans helped them at all. But aloha, Vinny. Hamptons awaits you. Ah, yes, Viva Lish. Okay. Great video of our trip in the Hamptons. Okay. We got just a bad situation in this country. They want us to spend all this money on infrastructure, which basically is not about the infrastructure. Infrastructure is building roads, bridges, dams, things of that nature. They have so many things in there that have nothing to do with the infrastructure. Just throw it in, because the Democrats run the White House, they run the Senate, and they run Congress. And they're kind of worried that in another year, when they have another midterm election, that there's going to be a red wave. And I think a lot of people are disgusted what's going on with yes, Viva. Joe D. Felice. Oh, she said hi to Viva. Oh, what is this? A matchmaking thing now? So we have a bad situation. One of the things that bothers me, and this is just an aside, is Ben and Jerry's. I don't know if they like their ice cream. I've had some of their ice cream. It's okay if you like these weird flavors, Chunky Monkey and all this other shit. I'm kind of a Haagen-Dazs guy myself, and Breyer's ice cream. I'm from old school Breyer's ice cream. But they started some bullshit in Palestine they weren't delivering Ben and Jerry's ice cream because of the Israelis doing some, fighting the Palestinians, et cetera, et cetera. It's on a political issue. But now they have a thing called Change Be Brewing. They are collecting money for Cori Bush. She has a $10 billion program to defund the police. She wants to substitute them with social workers. Can you imagine a domestic dispute where a guy's got a knife to his wife's throat, or vice versa, the woman has a knife to the husband's throat, and you get a social worker, and it doesn't work? What are they going to do? What are they going to do if the guy's going to stab or kill? Or what if they have a gun? What are you going to do as a social worker? You're going to throw your badge at him? Cherry Garda. Who's Cherry Garda? Okay. But we got, this stupid shit. It's just stupid. Okay. All right. One other issue I got to go into before I go into the main issue is this Gabby Petito. Okay. It's a sad commentary on her relationship with this guy. It looks like she's dead. She's been murdered. It looks like he did it, but we don't know. We don't have the definite evidence of that. We don't know how she died. Could have been an accident and he just freaked out, and it could be a lot of reasons. Okay, so let's not, the family of this guy is getting a lot of heat because people feel that they covered up somewhat for their son, which is kind of I don't know. If it's your kid, you might want to protect them somehow. I don't know. I don't want to comment on that. It's a parental thing, but Joy Reid on MSNBC, the communist network next to CNN, said that the media exposure on this case is racist because she's white. Why don't they do this for a black person? Well, if it was a black person in the same situation, I think they would do it too. The media is pro-black, it's pro-BLM, it's pro-Antifa, it's pro- how does he escape from that little house when he's around 24/7? Yeah, how did this guy get out of the house? How did the police not follow? That's the only thing that they're criticizing the police right now. I'm sure there'd be other criticism. How the hell did he get out of that little house without them watching? They didn't watch. That's the whole thing. They dropped the ball. They should have known he's a person of interest, that maybe he might be the perpetrator, they should keep an eye on. Now he's out and about, and then they think he's out in this sort of Everglades. My gut feeling from years of experience as an investigator, I'd say he killed himself. He committed suicide. He's distraught over what he did. We don't really know what he did. It'd be nice to catch him alive, prosecute him, maybe find out what happened. Maybe it was an accident. Maybe he had an argument. Maybe he pushed her on purpose, a smoking gun. It could be that. He could have knocked her in the head with something. What do you call it? There's some talk about him being abusive to her. Viva says we should skin him alive. Okay, I can skin him alive. Skin him alive is very painful. But why is Joy Reid saying this is racist? What's racist about it? If she was a black woman and was in a similar situation, the media would be all over it. Okay, so let's move on. Okay. Okay. Another thing I want to talk about tonight is General Mark Milley. Okay, Joint Chiefs of Staff, the biggest general in our country. He's the supremo. Okay. First of all, he went behind Trump's back when he was his security advisor and talked to the Chinese counterpart. He was going to warn him if there was anything going on. Okay. Viva says if there's a Native American woman missing, it would be the same thing. They would go, and try to find her. So General Milley went behind his back, talked to the Chinese counterpart, the big general in China, and said he was going to warn him. That's treason. I don't care how you spin it. It's treason. First of all, it's insubordination. He should not have gone above the president. The president is the commander in chief. He should have listened. He should have told him, listen, I'm going to go talk to him. I'm going to have a nice conversation. Whatever it is, that might have made it better. But the reason he did it, he probably didn't want it to be on record, because every time they in the government they have communication, there's a record of it. I don't think he wanted a record of it. Now there's a book written about him, about the situation, and I don't see him denying this. He's claiming that it was okay to talk to them. It was just a part of his job. I think it's a lie. Okay. The other thing, he should be brought up on charges for leaving $90 billion worth of equipment in the hands of the Taliban. Or even if the Taliban were not terrorists, if they were not bad guys, you don't leave $90 million worth of equipment in another country. You take it out or you destroy it, okay? Also, how do you take the military out and leave the Americans there to fend off the Taliban? I don't understand that. If anybody in the military, from a private to a sergeant to a lieutenant to a captain, whatever, would know that you do not leave people behind. You take them out first. You always, especially in a hostage situation or anything like that, and this is tantamount to a hostage situation, you take them out. You take them out, and then you deal with the threat militarily or socially or diplomatically, whatever you have to do. But you get the people out. Also, knowing that there were people that collaborated with the Americans, translators and whatever, they are going to be killed by the Taliban. You should get them out first. I mean, second or first, whatever you want to call it. Get them out together with the other people. Don't leave them. And they gave them a list of the Americans and the people, all the people that are still there. Then when you ask Blinken or you ask Jen Psaki, another idiot, I mean, she is misinformation. We'll circle around. Everything is circle around. I think she circles around her. Never mind. They are so inept. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. And how do you give a list of all the Americans to the enemy? You know how many of them are going to be killed because of, and we don't even know because there's no media out there. They have their own media, and of course, they're not going to let us know. the Taliban does want to be accepted as a legitimate country. Okay, that's to be argued. That could be argued also, but at least they're going to try to do something, something to cover over with the bullshit that's going on. But we're getting people out of Afghanistan with private charters. The government's not even helping. But the government could put people on planes and bring them all over the country. But they're illegals. Oh, we're going to go about that later. But I mean, it's just the hypocrisy is overwhelming in this country. Now, General Miley also is involved with what I consider and what I've read in the paper with the coup attempt on Trump. They talked about Russian collusion. They talked about him talking to the Ukrainian president. By the way, when he talked to the Ukrainian president, indirectly was Biden's son was involved, but we're not going to go into that. They tried to a coup. What they wanted to do is impeach him with all this bullshit, and it didn't work. The Russian collusion, they spent $40 million on Mueller. Mueller's another crook. When he was the U.S. attorney for the Northern District of, I think, Boston area, he let the mafia get away with a lot of stuff. He was and I'm putting it on record. He could sue me if he wants. Not going to get anything, but he is the biggest. He put innocent people in jail to help out guilty people. And Whitey Bulger, anybody hear about him? Whitey Bulger had a friend in the FBI, and I think the friend had a friend with Mueller, and they let him do a lot of stuff out there. Okay. So now, this is the good news. A lawyer by the name of Sussman was with the law firm representing Hillary Clinton. And they're the law firm that hired on her behalf the Steele dossier about the Russian collusion between Trump and persons unknown. And they also used that to get information from the FISA, get a FISA warrant to investigate people involved with Trump. Now, this is so KGB-ish that it's unbelievable. And this is all under Obama. It's under he's responsible for this. They allowed the FBI to investigate Trump as a candidate. They lied on the FISA warrant, and nobody's been prosecuted for it except Sussman. Now, Sussman lied to the FBI. Anybody who knows the law or anything to know about law enforcement, you cannot lie to an FBI agent. That's it's like perjury. It's called the 1001 rule. Okay. So he lied and they grabbed him on, and when you're talking to the FBI, what color was the sky today? Well, it was blue. Oh, no, it was gray. You lied to us. I'm exaggerating a little bit, but I've seen things like that with them. I've had experience with FBI agents trying to jam up people for minor inconsistencies. Okay. So the rule of thumb is if you are under investigation or you're a witness on an investigation by the FBI, sometimes all the time, a lawyer will say, do not talk to them. Even if you're not a suspect, don't talk to them unless you have something that can help them on an investigation, because then you're hindering an investigation. Either way, you're in trouble. But be careful. I know not everybody's listening to this is going to be talking to the FBI agent. And if an FBI agent comes over to you and says, hey, did you see this? And I mean, if you're an innocent person, you can talk to them. But if you have any nexus to whatever went gone, don't talk to them. That's all I'm telling you. Okay. Okay. The other thing that bothers me about this Afghanistan, and we could talk all day about that, but we're not going to talk about it. Is they just killed 10 people in Afghanistan with a drone attack. Now, what they're doing is they have no intel on the ground. Before the Taliban took over, they had listening posts. They had people that could give them information. They don't have that anymore, okay? And the Bagram air base, which they deserted and gave it to the Taliban, could have been one of their places that to help their intel, but no. So what they're doing now is they're claiming that they can drone attack somebody over the horizon. Bullshit. They did that with these 10 people, three eight people, and 7 children died, and not one terrorist died in that attack. So the intel is bogus. It's no good. They don't have intelligence, and they're not intelligent people anyway. That's an oxymoron that they have intelligence. Okay. I have my glass of wine here. Okay. I like more people to give me comments. I like comments. I like a lot of comments. I can't be that good that nobody can comment on what I say. So, okay, we're going to talk about the border. I've been watching Fox. I'm watching Fox. I don't want to watch the show because I get depressed, but I can't turn it off. And Fox is the only, I mean, AON and Newsmax, they talk about it too. But Fox has people down in at the border videotaping. They got reporters. Biden forbid anybody to use a drone to take pictures of what's going on over there. But people are taking videos anyway. Okay, because how can you tell people not to take videos of what's going on when they're breaking the law left and right? They reversed Trump's Article 42. They reversed all the things that Trump did on the border. He had it under control. They want these people in. They want to make this a third world country. I don't why. It's a socialist agenda. The socialist agenda is cause dissension, which BLM, Antifa, they love that. The riot, all those riots that happened last summer prior to the election, they claimed there was peaceful protest. There's buildings burning in the background, storefronts blasted, people assaulted, cops assaulted with rocks and bottles and stuff, and they call it peaceful protest. And then January 6th, the people went in there on the Capitol. I'm not going to dispute that there were some people there overzealous. I like to use that word, overzealous. But also BLM Antifa was in there, and they kind of put fuel on the fire, and they put more. They got it all. And this was a perfect example of the left narrative: blame the right, blame conservatives, blame the Republicans for everything else that was done that they did doesn't count. What they want to do is make everybody else look like terrorists when the terrorists are actually with them. BLM and Antifa are terrorists, and they support the Democrats, and the Democrat socialists support them. Okay, so we just have a breakdown in this country that it's unbelievable. You got teachers teaching kids in school CRT. Now, I'm not going to talk about a critical race theory. But why do you tell children stuff that they're impressionable? They're young. They're 7-year-old, 8-year-olds, first, second, third grade. You tell them, and then they're sitting next to a black kid, and they say, "Wait a minute, my family abused these people. It's just, it's not good for a kid to grow up learning relationships with other people on their own, without anybody interjecting their views. The kids will learn on their own. They're going to learn how. And I remember one of the schools that they were teaching kids anal sex. Young kids. The mother went berserk. She said, "What is this?" The kids, they're too young to learn about this. This is all part of the socialist agenda. Break down the family values, break down the society, break down the economy. Now, speaking of our economy, we are in trouble. First of all, Biden stops the Keystone Pipeline, stops all that, anything that we were energy sufficient, and we have more oil than anybody in the world, even than the Arabs. So what does he do? He stops that, and he tells OPEC, "Oh, we need more oil from you." I don't understand how anybody could do that. Why? Anything that Trump did, he's got to reverse, even if it was good. Anything that Trump did good, he's going to reverse. Biden overlapping chaos. Afghanistan border inflation deflection. Yeah, he's deflect Joe. He is deflecting. He's deflecting from. Oh, this drives me crazy. There is a video of border agents on horses getting the people back over the river, right? They have reins, not whips, but reins, and they have to hit the horses. And when they're hitting the horses, they're pushing they're using the horses to push the people away. It's a time honored tradition. Even the police department, like Times Square at midnight, after midnight, they use the horses to push back people. They do that. Every law enforcement is always doing that. Their narrative is that they've been whipping them. They're not whips, they're rein. Now they changed it. They keep changing the narrative. They weren't whipping anybody. They were using what they had to do. Okay. Nobody complained. No, none of the people that were allegedly whipped complained or fell down or were injured or anything like that. It's all bullshit. They're doing it. But they can talk about this little incident and not talk about the whole program that on the border. The Haitians, there's 20,000 Haitians coming through Colombia. Now, how did they get to Colombia from Haiti? Haiti has no money. They are dirt poor. They're the poorest nation in the Western Hemisphere, even poorer than Venezuela, the socialist utopia. And what happens? They go to, how do they get to Colombia? I don't know. And from Colombia, they're going, I guess they're coming up through the Central America. They're coming up through Mexico. They come into Texas. Okay. They just had, 15,000 there now. They got another 20,000. And I understand in northern Mexico, opposite McAllen, Texas, there's another group surging in there too. Now, they don't have enough border agents. So Governor Abbott of Texas has brought out 6,000 state troopers to help out. And what they're doing is they're putting their cars near where they're coming in over the river. They're trying to block them to some extent. They're going to have to put the National Guard in there. The problem with National Guard, Biden could deputize them and make them federal, and then they would have to listen to Biden. They won't listen to the governor. But I don't think he's going to do that. I think if to get the National Guard, they're going to have to do something. The government is not doing anything. The state has to take care of it. The states are sovereign. They can do their own thing. They don't have to listen to the federal government on everything. Usually the federal government, you got to listen to them for the legislation, protection of the country, which they're not doing, and the defending our Constitution, which they're not doing either. So the governors can do a lot on their own, okay? And Governor Abbott's doing it, and some of the other, I don't know, Arizona's governor is doing it also. And New Mexico, I don't know. Now, New Mexico has a Democratic congressman, I think, who's complaining about what's going on to Biden. And they're not even listening to him. This is the state of affairs that we have. We really have a really serious problem. And we're going to take a little break now. Anthony, let's talk about my books and my daughter's company. Let's get some publicity here. Okay. So these are my 3 books. I got one more. It's going to come back later. Mafia Double Cross, a great book. That's my #1 bestseller. I've been doing a lot of book signing, and they're eating them all up. Investigation of the Dark is a sexy book. It's about divorce cases, about undercover in strip clubs, undercover in swingers club. I was told by my old publisher to write this book because the people like that. From the Detective's Kitchen is basically my real stories and my real recipes. I went to French cooking school a few years ago, many years ago, while I was on the job with the state. And I learned how to cook. And I always like every Italian boy knows that's to cook. Everybody knows how to make pasta, okay, and sauce. But and ironically, that's on the cover. Now, Rogue PI is coming out. It's on Amazon. The book, the actual book, is coming out next week. I'm going to have a bunch of copies. That's about a little bit about my autobiography about growing up and stuff like that. But it talks about me investigating Monica Lewinsky and Bill Clinton. It talks about the Fatal Attraction case that kind of made me famous. It talks about the John F. Kennedy watch that I had to investigate 40 years after he was dead. I had to verify that it existed. The one where they asked me to kill their wife. We got on the front page of all the newspapers on that one. Elton John's DNA. We had to work on that. There's a few other things in there. I think it's very interesting. I was told to write that by another publishing person, and we're going to have a book signing October 7th at headquarters, 552 West 38th Street. Okay. Why we're going to have it there? I'll tell you why. We're going to have the press there. They're going to, when they know that I'm talking about the Fatal Attraction case, they want to know about it. It was a big case. It was all over the newspaper. They did 2 movies on it, on the Carolyn Warmer story. This is not my shining moment in my business, but don't let a crisis go to waste. Don't let the publicity go to waste. That's what I've been told. So that's going to be that. It's my daughter's company. She learned from the best. She does a lot of work. There are a lot of, of course, a standard thing for an investigator is matrimonial, landlord tenant, background checks, assets, criminal due diligence. Due diligence is big nowadays. People going into business with other people. I get a lot of due diligence cases. My company is asset recovery, so we do everything except video surveillance. That I'm not allowed to do. Okay, Parco Media. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel. And we're back. Okay. We're going to talk about the border. There's a lot to talk about. First of all, you have a Secretary of Homeland Security, a guy named Mayorkas. Okay, he is a total incompetent. He has no idea what's going on. He was in front of the Senate committee, congressional committee the other day, and they asked him questions, and like Jen Psaki, I'll get around to it. We'll circle back. He doesn't know anything. They ask him, how many people are going here? How many people are going? I can't. I want to give you an act. His response is, I don't have it right now, but I want to do some research. Hey, you're going in front of a committee. You're supposed to have facts. You're supposed to do your research. You're supposed to know your job. He does not know his job. Biden has put every person in his administration is incompetent. Look at Blinken. Blinken, if you watch, and unfortunately I watched his interview in front of Congress, and he was a blithering idiot. He had no freaking idea what he was doing. He had no idea. They don't even know how many people are left in Afghanistan. And oh, by the way, Jen Psaki, how she kind of skirts around it. She says, well, the people that are there are the ones that want to stay. That's such bullshit. These people don't want to stay. Who wants to stay in a country like that where women have no rights, number one? If you're not wearing the burqa, or if you're not covering your face, you can get beat up or arrested or whatever. It's the worst country in the world to live in if you're a normal person, okay? The Afghans don't even want to live there. That's why they're coming over. They're coming back to the United States. Now, the problem with the people that came back from Afghan is they don't know how many of them were vetted. Some of them just got on the plane. They don't know if they're terrorists in a wolf in sheep's clothing. They have no idea. And that brings me back to the border. How many terrorists have come in, slipped through the cracks? They have found a few. Now, we were concerned with the Mexicans and the Hondurans and the Guatemalans that were coming through Mexico to our country. Okay. They're Central American. Okay. However, they've caught Somalians. They've caught Syrians. They caught all kinds of people coming in. These are coming from terrorist countries. And don't you know that they're going to be setting up cells in this country, our country? They're going to be setting up cells to create more havoc in this country, more terrorism. I mean, look at the Boston bombing. The 2 guys that did it, They were Russian terrorists, whatever. They weren't part of any. They just decided to do it. The two brothers, and they said we're gonna blow up people because that's our motto. That's our mantra. Well, what are you about these people coming over that are part of a group, that are part of Al Qaeda, that are part of ISIS, and they come in this country? What do you think they're coming here for? They're coming here to sample our cuisine. They're coming here to go to school. No, they're here to get whatever they can and to blow up or hurt whatever they can. This is all part of the Communist Manifesto. Now, even though they're not communists, the socialists want them here. They want to cause this rift. They want to cause all this. This is what they do. And then they're in power. Now, the people in power, the elites, they want to do mandates on facial covering, vaccination, etc. But they can have parties with 40, 50 people without masks, but you have to wear a mask. They let all these people come in over the border without being COVID tested, without, a matter of fact, that's another one of Trump's executive order that these people with COVID should not come in this country. Biden got rid of that too. He got rid of everything. Everything. You know how many pedophiles are coming into this country through this border? This is open season for them. And you got to remember one thing. This is a free country. Now, Biden and the Socialist Democrats passed a resolution or a law that a man could go into a woman's bathroom if he feels feminine. Okay. There's a case in LA where a guy felt feminine. He's I'm transforming into a woman. But meanwhile, he has a penis. And from what I understand, it's a pretty big one. And he went into a woman's spa and expressed himself. Oh, no, it was an accident. Yeah, he goes, that wasn't erect. It was just a big one. Well, guess what? You don't do that in a woman's thing. Now, if you're going to be a woman, cut it off. Be a woman. It's bullshit. It's an excuse to go. Now, they did a background check on this guy. He's been arrested for this before he decided to become a woman. This is just an excuse for him to get into a bathroom to see women. And he gets off on this. This is what these people do. They get off on exhibiting themselves to, obviously, women, to other, or even to other men. They're sick people. They're very sick people. And this law allowing them to go into a woman's bathroom, this is like Christmas for them. Okay. Now, keep in mind, these pedophiles come into the United States. We are a very open country, more than most other countries in the world, even more than some of the European countries. So a person can infiltrate a group easily in this country. People are more amenable to people joining their groups. So what they can do is get involved in groups that are formed for good reasons, for good deeds, and then they can abuse people. You're going to see a spate of this going on in the next few years. You're going to see so many, and then the mainstream media is going to hide it because they don't want to admit that they were wrong. Now, speaking of admitting they're wrong, Biden is going back a little bit with saying that Majorca said that, oh, we're not going to let anybody come in anymore. Bullshit. You're just letting thousands of people coming in. The border agents are overwhelmed. They're overwhelmed. They're working double shifts. I don't know how they're doing it. Now, unfortunately, they do have this Texas state troopers of helping them out, but it's like you have a boat with a bunch of holes, and you keep putting your thumb in each hole, and another hole comes up. So what are we going to do? What are we going to do? We have to vote these people out. We have to vote them out, and they are nervous about that. That's why the Democrat socialists, I call them Democrat socialists, are fighting to get these infrastructure bills. Now you have a good man, Senator Manchin, who's a Democrat, but he's a moderate one. He's saying we can't. It's going to cripple the country, cripple the economy. Already, we have inflation more than when Trump was in. We didn't have the inflation like that. Look at the gas prices. Okay, now you have a problem with getting deliveries for Christmas. You know that they're going to start shopping now. I was seeing something. A woman was being interviewed about it. She said, "We're going to start. People are going to start shopping now because you can't get anything for Christmas." Um, I was in an optometrist office recently, and I was talking to a couple of people, and one of the guys was working for a car company, Porsche, and we were talking about different things, and he said they can't get parts from Europe. He said, I said, why not? He says, they're not shipping. The ships are not sailing. And the problem is you have empty ships, and nobody wants to bring an empty ship back to port. If you don't have any cargo on it, you're not making any money, and you're costing sail. You got to pay the sailors. You got to pay the fuel, et cetera, et cetera. So a lot of the ships are not even traveling, and that's putting a crimp in the whole system. And also in our country, you have a lot of people on unemployment, and they're not working. They're getting unemployment, and they're getting food money from the government, so they're not working. So you have a shortage of labor, and so the prices of labor is going up because now I heard a friend of mine owns a bunch of buildings. Handyman usually gets $25 an hour. He's put an ad for $40 an hour. Normally they would scoop it. They're getting $800 a week doing nothing. So, hey, what do they care? Okay, that is where this country is falling down. This is where this country's falling down, and it's this. I hate to sound like a conspiracy theorist, but it's a plan. It's a plan that they want to do. It's a plan to destroy all this racial stuff. Is just another plan that the socialist agenda. Saul Alinsky. This is part of his Communist Manifesto. Okay. Mark Levin wrote it. I have to get this book. It's called American Marxism, and they'll establish cells which will be evident until a month or longer. An attack will happen. Then the media will say, "How did we let this disaster happen?" Yes, Joe, you're right. The media is going to say, "How did we let this happen?" Well, you let it happen now. It's right now. It's happening now. I hate to sound like a Trumpster, but Trump predicted this. Trump said all this. Trump said we got to protect the borders. We're going to have too many people. They don't, anything that Trump said, even if it's good, they don't like it. If he cured cancer, they would say something's wrong with it. Amazing. When Trump said, don't have anybody travel in January of 2020, when Trump said, let's not have anybody travel from China. Oh, you're Islamic phobic. You're prejudiced. All that. Then when they realized that the pandemic was serious, then they started claiming that he didn't do enough. I mean, it was just unbelievable. No matter what he did, no matter how he did it, they have to, they have to exaggerate everything. And why? Because he was not a politician. He didn't kiss ass. Actually, he did the opposite. He tweeted people, and he was kind of nasty. I got to be honest with you. He was kind of nasty. But I miss it. A lot of people miss that nasty tweeting. And, he was bombastic. That's a good one. Bombastic attitude when he has to deal with people that don't agree with him. But then again, he's not a politician. He's a businessman, and they criticize him for being a businessman, but that's how he became successful. In real estate, which is his forte, you got to be tough. And, they claim all his companies that went back. Yeah, well, listen, bankruptcy is a legal way of getting out of trouble in a business. Sometimes you don't have a choice. Sometimes the deck's stacked against you. And he did it, but he paid a lot of people. Matter of fact, I know people that live in Atlantic City, and when he did his thing in Atlantic City, he closed down some casino. I know one guy said, "Listen, everybody I know that did business with Trump got screwed, but they'll do business again with him because they still made money. Even though they got screwed, they made money, and that's the name of the game. If you're a capitalist, that's the name of the game. So maybe you got to deal with the devil, but you're still making money." That is business, okay? I've as a private investigator for 40 years, I had real estate clients. Some of them were horrible. Some of them I had to be a little tough with. I had to tell them, hey, I'm going to tell you what I told them, but some of them you had to be a little tough. Most of them were nice to me, but you had to deal with, you had to deal with that kind of element. And, it is what it is, and you just can't get around it. But the point I'm trying to make is they're redoing everything, they're undoing everything that Trump did that was good. And forget about his tweeting and forget about his bombastic attitude and ego. Oh boy, is he an egotist? All right, but that's okay. You have to be an egotist to be the president of the United States. Look at Joe Biden's ego. He has no ego. He has no brains. He has nothing. He's ruining this country. He doesn't know what's going on. The other day they asked him a question. Oh, by the way, his staff threw out the press corps when he was talking to Boris Johnson from England. He doesn't want to talk. He's afraid to talk because he can't make a sentence. They've been telling him don't. He didn't even campaign because he's so stunad. We have a bad situation, very bad. And how we got now, I hear people talking stupid stuff that, we'll have a resurrection, we'll have an insurrection, we'll have a civil war. You're not going to have a civil war. This country is too sophisticated to do that. We're not a third world nation yet. We're becoming one. And when you got nations like Burma and Cambodia, where they have coups all the time. The general gets empowered. Okay, I'm running the country. We do have certain checks and balances. Unfortunately, the checks and balances are not balanced in the United States' favor. It's balanced towards socialism. And look what socialism did to Cuba. Look what socialism did to Venezuela. And, I got to tell you, socialism did pretty good in China. They're doing very well. They got money to burn. But here's the problem with China. And I predicted this a couple podcasts ago. They are expanding rapidly. They have money to burn, okay? They don't have the restrictions that we have in our country. So they have more latitude in making money. They make money, okay? Now, a company called Evergard was a big real estate company in China. And I'm pretty sure the Chinese government has something to do with it. They've just put a $600 billion loss. They are going bankrupt. And I think that is going to be a rippling effect with China. And I predicted this because they're going over. Now, I don't know if you go to YouTube, and go to YouTube for me too, but go to YouTube and there's a couple cities that China has built from the ground up. They spent, I don't know, I would say hundreds of billions of dollars, maybe $1 trillion. They built a city replica of Rome. They built a city replica of Paris. They built a city, I think, replica of either Budapest or Germany. They've a number of them. Nobody is moving in. Nobody lives in there. Nobody lives in there. So who's paying? Well, I guess they don't have to worry about taxes, but who's paying? You have to maintain these buildings. Even if nobody's in there, you have to keep the heat up. You got to keep. There's certain things you have to do in a building, otherwise it's going to deteriorate. Who's paying for this? They're going to take a hit on this. They're also buying up property on outskirts of Australia. They bought a couple islands. They're going to build what do you call amusement park. They're making noises about taking over Taiwan. Now, this is the best time for the Chinese to do it. Why? Because we have a weak president. Biden will not do anything if they attack Taiwan. He's supposed to. He's not going to do it. I'm guaranteed, and I hope I'm wrong, but guaranteed he'll find some bullshit diplomatic way of dealing with it. And now all our allies right now are afraid. I'll tell you why. United States is in disarray. Look at Afghanistan. Look at the southern border. Look at all the stuff that's going on with the Bidens, okay, with his son, Hunter Biden, getting involved with the Chinese. Now, you have a lot of countries in the world, especially Australia. So Australia is worried that the Chinese are going to try to take them over. They're in their sphere of influence. So I could see where that would be the next step. But we are the ally. And now we just gave them some nuclear submarines, and France is pissed at us because we didn't do it the right way. So now we have a major ally, France, who, by the way, we've helped in 2 world wars. Otherwise, they'd be all speaking German. But that's an aside. They are now pissed at us because we sold it. We cut them out of the deal or whatever. I don't know what the deal was, but okay. The other allies that we have in NATO are getting nervous. They're saying this guy can't even handle a withdrawal from Afghanistan. He can't handle his borders. How is he going to help us when we're 3,000, 4,000 miles away? So what the European Union is trying to do is trying to build up their own army. Now, this is talk about it. I don't know if they really are doing it. Maybe they are. Because when Trump was president, he excoriated them for not paying their fees, their percentage to NATO. The United States, as usual, is picking up the tab for everything. We picked up the tab for the Korean War. We helped Russia in World War II when they were fighting the Germans. We helped everybody, and we ever get it back? Nah. We're so magnanimous that we could just do that. Okay. So now we have a situation where the allies don't trust us. We left, how many Afghanistan allies are left in Afghanistan? They're going to be murdered. The Taliban has no mercy for these people because they're considered them treasonous. They're traitors. So in any country in the world, how do you get rid of traitors? You kill them. You execute them. So a lot of them are going to be killed. A lot of Americans are going to get jammed up. The few that are getting out of the country is through private charters. Why isn't our government helping out? They're not. They screwed up and they don't know how to get around it. Now, the other day I saw a commercial. I forgot what network it was on. A guy who was a retired military man, army, I think, sergeant, saying that President Biden did such a wonderful job getting out the people of 100,000 people out of Afghanistan. Never mentions the people that he left there. Never mentions that he left all the military equipment there, and never mentioned that he put a terrorist government in play. Now, they were warned. It was warned by even the CIA. The CIA moved out of Afghanistan because they knew something was going on. The CIA, even the Department of State, there's some people there that told them Afghan's government is falling apart. They can't handle this thing. And Biden goes on TV and says, well, the Afghan army has 350,000 well-trained soldiers, and Taliban only has 85,000 soldiers. Well, I guess what? The 350,000 soldiers that Afghanistan had, they're not around anymore. Half of them deserted. The other half joined the Taliban. That is what that's the kind of people you're dealing with. Over the years, 20 years that we're in Afghanistan, we've had Afghan soldiers shoot at our guys, blow up barracks, have done stupid things because in their mentality, they are still terrorists. They've then joined the army to infiltrate. And that's the problem we have. Some of those people are in this country now. Who knows what they're planning? They're planning some disastrous shit. They're going to make 9/11 look like child's play. I'm telling you right now. They're going to do something that's going to be overwhelming, because that's what terrorists do. By opening the borders, by bringing people from Afghan on a rush basis, if Biden was competent, he would have had the Americans out first, the allies out second, the SIV, the special immigration visa people out. Then say, okay, we're all out. you know what? Take this fucking country. This country sucks. The people suck. They're animals. They're in the prehistoric times. The men, I don't know if you remember, the Taliban was saying, well, we have to teach these men how to deal with women. They don't know how to deal with women. They'll marry a 12-year-old, a 13-year-old girl. They'll rape any woman that they can. It's a part of their culture. They have no respect for women. And yet you have the liberal women in this country sticking up for them. And oh yeah, Biden did a great job. It's just all wonderful. Everything's hunky-dory. It ain't true. It's a false narrative, okay? We have a situation in the world, and we have a situation, even the Pope, all right, the Pope even said that we should have a new world order. Okay, remember, the Pope is the holiest of the Catholic religion, and I wouldn't say Christian because the Protestants don't really follow the Pope too much. They're Christians, okay. So even other religions respect the Pope. He says a one world. So he wants everything under one umbrella, like the UN. The UN wants to do that. The UN has some sort of resolution. They're gonna take our guns away. They want to take our guns away. Why do they want to take our guns away? Because then you cannot defend yourself. Okay. We have a couple minutes left. A quick story. The Japanese didn't want to invade the United States. They did Pearl Harbor, hoping that we could get truce and armistice and make friends, make that. Why? Yamamoto came to this country as a military attaché. He said to his own people, in the United States, there are guns behind every leaf, every blade of grass. Everybody has a gun. If they invited this, they'd have people shooting at them from all over. That's why they don't want us to have guns. Communists don't want to. In Venezuela, they don't have guns. They took the guns away. From Cuba, they took the guns away from them. Any communist country, China, people don't have guns. Why? They can't defend themselves. They can't. There's no uprising. That's what they're worried about in this country. They're worried about an uprising, and or civil war. And civil war, those who have the most guns win. It's very simple. Anybody has any comments? We got 3 minutes left. Anybody has any parting comments? And by the way, people are dying at the border. You don't hear about the people that the border agents find floating in the river that drowned. The Rio Grande River at some points is deep. And if you're not a good swimmer and there's a current, you're going to die. People have thrown children, 3-year-old, 4-year-old children in front of them just to get into this country. Now, I don't blame these people for trying to get in here, but trying to get here legally. They know they can't. They're not going to go through the process. That's the whole problem. They don't want to go through the process. My family came here from Italy. They went through the process. A lot of people from other countries came through the process, and they're viable citizens. They're good citizens. What these people want to do is they want to get the freebies. They know that they're going to get free health care, free money, Social Security when they never worked here. I'm on Social Security. I worked for 40 years. These people don't work. What happened? They get the money because, it's socialism. What happens with socialism? Socialism, eventually you run out of other people's money. Okay. I want to thank you guys for watching. I like the comments. I need more comments. Next week, I'm gonna have a few special guests from law enforcement. I'm gonna have some people from law enforcement. I want to get their spin on what's going on. And as we say in Little Italy in the Bronx on Arthur Avenue, sempre noi means always with us. And I want to thank you for tuning in. I want to thank you for your comments. And please tell all your friends about this podcast. I have a lot of good things to talk about. And I want everybody to listen. Good night, everybody.